And then I saw this story. Kevin Durant defends himself and thinks he's inaccurately criticized. Okay. While some view that as being overly sensitive, Durant believes that he's being honest and controlling his own narrative, even though it has led him to being singled out. I don't see this talked about. I see Damian Lillard. I see LeBron James. I see Draymond Green. I see a lot of players in our league speak up on social media, but they don't get the sensitive rap. That's what Durant told Fox Sports. Durant believes he wears a scarlet letter of sorts for being sensitive, while other athletes who engage with critics aren't perceived in the same manner. Come on, you know what happened because I went to the Warriors, said Durant, referencing leaving the small market Oklahoma City in 2016 to join the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green that had won a league record 73 games the season prior. People still don't like that part of everything. People want to silence me for some reason. I mean, I can't pinpoint exactly why. Yes, you can. That's exactly why. That's exactly why. You know? And you don't have you don't have the you have no one defending you in the national media to make the move to the Warriors except for me. You know, except for me. And I understand, like, there's a certain, hey, dude, there's a loyalty there, and you're leaving Oklahoma City and you're taking on a team that had just beaten you in the playoffs. I was there. I remember the moment. I was surprised. People thought he was going to Boston. People thought he was going, you know, and then all of a sudden he goes to the Warriors. People think it's unfair. It's always interesting to me, like, it's unfair for him to join the Warriors. It wasn't unfair for LeBron James to join the Heat with Dwayne Wade and then get Chris Bosh and eventually get Ray Allen. Like, why is one unfair? Why is the other one not unfair? I don't really understand that one. And yes, they had won 73 games, but they hadn't won the championship that previous year. They're allowed to improve their team. He's allowed to go there. And as much as it worked on the court for 2 years and probably would have worked a third year had they all not gotten hurt or Durant just not gotten hurt, the fact is it was at times not the greatest watch in the world. There was a lack of motivation. They were better than other people. Just so you know, I mean, I don't remember when DeMarcus Cousins signed there a couple years ago, people had the same reaction. It was comical because DeMarcus Cousins was washed up and the league had changed. But it was funny. Like, we saw the same. Oh, it's just unfair. People just decide what side of the story they want. And then, look, he did himself no favors in having a burner account, responding to randoms on Twitter. And he's lost the PR battle. And the only way to win the PR battle is to get back to winning a championship. That's it. Get back to winning a championship. You know? I didn't love the partnering with Kyrie Irving just because I had heard enough about Kyrie and didn't think that ultimately would work. But I don't know. Had Kyrie not gotten hurt the first year, maybe it would have. Had James Harden not gotten hurt, maybe it would have. Had Kevin Durant not gotten hurt last year, maybe it would have. But this is kind of where you are. And, yeah, I do think he's sensitive. I do think all those guys are sensitive. I think the flaw of the whole league is. You know, like, I like Damian Lillard. I think he's awesome. I think he's great at just about everything he does. But when he's had a chance to beat Steph Curry in the playoffs, it hasn't been close. Hasn't been close. And so what do we do every year? Like, oh, woe is me and Damian Lillard. Does he okay, so Damian Lillard, if he stays, we champion it. If he goes, it's okay. But if Kevin Durant leaves, it's not okay. Like, we don't have any sort of one narrative. And Damian Lillard, because he's a guard, doesn't get the benefit of Kevin Durant, right? Like, what is fair, what is not fair? I don't know. But my biggest takeaway is this. You just can't live on social media. Because social media has people who don't know anything about anything. And most stories, most true backgrounds, most true deep dives, you don't find out until years later when somebody writes a book. Oh, that's a book I can't wait to read. Ever said that before? I am sure there's a lot more to it. Like, my thought has always been, dude, Oklahoma City, he had no space. Let me remind you of the team that had a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference playoffs. All right? It was Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Martin, right? Kevin Martin? Right? And then they had Andre Robertson, Serge Ibaka, Steven Adams. So Andre Robertson was a non-shooter. Russell Westbrook was never a good shooter. Their centers were never good shooters. Ibaka could shoot. But anytime he caught the ball, there was a guy guarding him and then a guy waiting for him 15 feet from the hoop. And go back and look at his quotes, and all he wanted was, hey, man, I just want the space to go play and make a play and show him the best player on earth. And I went to the NBA final, and everybody wants to remake it and go like, oh, well, they had the best play. Like, okay. But the fact is that if Draymond Green was a great role player, so too was Tristan Thompson. Whatever we think of Kevin Love now, when Kevin Love, before he got to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he was seen as an NBA star, which is, you know, a different version of what Klay Thompson is. And Kyrie Irving has every bit the talent and some of the accolades of a Steph Curry. Just Steph Curry's more beloved and been a more consistent player and arguably the greatest shooter, or maybe inarguably the greatest shooter in the history of the sport. But you have two other guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame in Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. And then you have a star role player, and Draymond's probably going to get in the Hall of Fame. But during those NBA Finals runs, Tristan Thompson was the same guy, right? The same guy. So we can sit here and say it was unfair, but I went to an NBA Finals game. I watched all those games, and LeBron was really good in the first half, and Kevin Durant was better. In the second half, when it counted, he vanquished LeBron, and they were guarding each other. It was really easy to tell. But we don't want that. We want our narratives. We want that LeBron had somehow an undermanned team and he joined a 73. Who cares how many games they won in the regular season? They win a championship. There's not a single other team that didn't win a championship. We don't say that about, you know, anybody who joined the Patriots after they went 16-0, 18-0 and lost in the Super Bowl, do we? Of course not. But the flaw to KD is when you're in that space of social media and you look at people's reactions, a lot of these people don't matter. And look, because of his reactions, because it's clearly bothered him, it feels like Barkley has then seized on that. Right? Seized on that. And I love Chuck. Okay? But he did leave Philadelphia for a chance to win with the Suns. And then he did, at the end of his career, tried to run it back one more time and win a championship with Clyde and those guys and Pip in Houston. Like, these things all did happen previously. So I understand that he's like, look, all these guys are sensitive, yet I'm being called sensitive. Other people have switched teams. I'm switching teams. Why are you picking on me? And I will say this, that I totally get the big guy, 7-footer, feeling like he's being picked on. Because when you're little and you're playing in a gym, in a youth game, the big guy always gets picked on. They just do. And, you know, you stand out. It's one reason, I don't know if you know, Bill Walton was never listed as 7 feet tall. Bill Walton was like 7'2" at his peak height. Of course, he's had back fusion surgery and heel fusion surgery and whatever. But he said, he'd tell you, like, back then, no one listed themselves at 7 foot because it was like you were something from outer space if you were 7 feet tall. I just think Kevin Durant feels like he's being picked on. And nobody likes that. Everybody understands that. But because of the amount of money he makes, because of the championships, because he's never been able to kind of win people over since the "you're the real MVP" to his mom, right? Remember, that was back when he was America's kind of male sweetheart. Like, everybody loved that speech. He nailed it. It's because he went to the Warriors. When people think something's not fair because you're too good, they find things they don't like about it, and they're going to needle you. And then every time you react to somebody needling you, it only gets worse.